MP. I think this is quite interesting, but maybe you can extend a bit of this. And the second point is your second research question also asks what is the impact of activities of Nobel in host countries, so in commodity producing countries. Do you also think about doing any interviews there? I mean, with associations in commodity producing countries where Nobel sources from, or producers, or ministries, or etc., to get also a different perspective on.
Yes. Thank you for the question. Yes, definitely, this is among the considerations. Of course, in the research, the more perspectives you get from various significant sources, the better. That is to help in the analysis and, of course, the production of the academic results. So definitely, this is something I would like to do. Perhaps, if I'm not able to travel to these regional offices because they are everywhere, I mean, Nobel Group is present globally, I would primarily focus on going to their head office and maybe finding out who are the people that has significant things to share regarding the dynamics in the trade in China and global trade and these things. So perhaps in this time of modern technology like emails or Skype and calls, these are considered. But definitely, yeah, yes. Ladies first.
So, how have Nobel Group taken your work? Are you in contact with them? Are you working with them as well? Are you working with their archivist? Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. You mean what is my current...
What's your relationship with Nobel Group?
Now?
Yeah. Have you got a connection? Have you established a connection with their archivist?
Right now we are not yet friends, but so to say, as I mentioned, I'm in the early stage of my PhD work. I started in February, so right now my plan is this first few months I'm in the process of gathering information and knowing as much as I can from all the sources that I have about Nobel Group before I actually approach them, so that I have a very kind of profound understanding and knowledge about their company and about what they're doing before I could ask probably some smart questions to them. So that is a plan, but definitely I would like to get a closer connection with them, and the goal is, of course, to talk to the key people involved.
It may be that they've already actually undertaken an oral history of their company, so I was just thinking,
Sorry?
They may have already undertaken an oral history, or...
Yeah, actually they are quite recently visible in the financial news, or they are interviewed by not many but some journalists about what is the next step of the company, and especially when they formed the Nobel Agri with Gofcode is a very big news. So they were interviewed, and they are more present this past few years in the media than before. Yes. Yes, sir.
Just if you look at the host countries where Nobel is active, they are globally present, some with producing countries. But I think one of the case study places you should visit is Singapore, because they are listed on the Singapore exchange. And I've been there, and they have a huge desk there, like many people working there. And it's exactly, I think, the relationship between Hong Kong based, so Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, and Singapore, and the opportunity to trade from Singapore and exchange yuan into dollars very conveniently might be an interesting aspect to look upon. To look at especially these two city-states in Asia.
They're servicing China, right?
Of course, but do so from Singapore as a financial hub in Asia.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
So two things, there's a massive controversy around Nobel and their financial statements at the moment.
Yeah.
There's a lot of short-selling pressure.
Yes.
So that might be interesting, because I think they might be going from a period in which they're more opaque to more transparency, and
Yeah.
they're getting in trouble for it. The other thing is you mentioned the soybean supply chain, and what I think would be a very interesting perspective is you have Cargill and Bunge who traditionally supply the world with soybeans from Brazil
Yeah.
and the US, and it might be interesting how Noble managed to get into this and how they use their China card, because their big advantage is they're Chinese, they have a lot of assets in China and very early on compared to these large traders, which found it difficult to move into China. And then you can also talk and get an interesting perspective from the likes of Cargill, where they're big in Shanghai as well, and Bunge, etc.,
Yeah.
how this relationship with China basically probably gave them an advantage
Yeah.
in some sort of way, which I think would be an interesting perspective on why Noble managed to make it as the only Asian guy or whatever
Yeah.
into that league of
Yeah, definitely.
agri-traders working their energy and metals.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something about it. Yeah, as you mentioned, Noble Group probably have more assets compared to other traders in China, but according to the most recent press conference conducted by the new CEO in February 2015, he says that the company is still in the light asset strategy for say. He defined it as that Noble Group is still operating on a contract-based strategy. Currently, they have 12,000 contracts that are maturing in between 1 to 3 years. So whether or not the assets play a role, that is something that we have to.
Let's say
Yeah.
presence, because
Yeah.
if you want to do business in China,
Yeah.
it's really different
Yeah.
from
And-
doing business in Brazil or Europe.
Yeah, and also I remembered something I read that, the reason why I think Noble Group is having an edge in the Chinese market is because they have headquartered in Hong Kong, but not only that, but because they have learned how to make good relationship in doing business in China, because doing business in China is really different, and it's still a little more based on, you know, the handshakes and the dinners and the relationships that you actually have when you go to business meetings. You don't actually talk anything about the business. You talk about anything else but outside the business. And then the last minute when dinner is supposed to end, okay, so this is a deal, then finish. So this is still more or less how it's going on in the business in Asia. So, yeah.
For your research, I think it would be very interesting to get the perspective of the
Yeah.
traditional guys
Yeah, definitely.
that have struggled a lot building
Yeah.
up a business in China, compared probably to Noble.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Just in response to your point, I've just been reading notes I made a couple of years ago about soybean processing in China. And this article was published in 2010. It says that Archer Daniels Midland was actually the largest soybean processor in China.
Because of IOI.
What's that for?
They have a stake in IOI,
Okay.
which is a big Asian player.
Wilmos.
Wilmar and IOI are that's
And Wilmar's part owned by ABM.
Yes, and I don't know exactly how structured it is.
16%.
Yeah, it used to be bigger.
So maybe the merger between COFCO and the agricultural division of Noble Group is a way of pushing back
Yeah.
ADM's premier status in China in soybeans. So that's another thing to explore.
I just remembered one thing actually. In 2001, when Noble Group was, in this period when Noble Group was expanding into agriculture, they actually acquired, Andre and Share, you mentioned, the Swiss company. Noble Group actually acquired their agricultural business in Asia. So this is one of the strategy what Noble Group is using. They're acquiring these companies that don't want to do business anymore, or just simply acquiring them and merging them and making them into the Noble family.
Just, we mentioned that it's the only big Asian headquartered trader.
By revenue.
Yeah, by revenue. But there are historically a large group of Japanese traders
Yeah.
that are part of the conglomerate structures.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's just a measure of the way you measure things, of course. Yeah.
Of course. And since I am looking into the period 1980 to 2015, so I will be dealing more with the the last 3 decades, for to say. But of course, it is definitely interesting to look at what has, developed, what you mentioned, the Japanese companies. Yes.
I think we have to break for lunch now, actually.
Lunchtime? Great. Thank you.
We will have lunch until 1:30. There's a buffet lunch.